Welcome. You're listening to Entertain You. This is a radio program that goes out around the globe, courtesy of the one and only Society Bites Radio. And Society Bites Radio is part of the Global Radio Ear Network. So we're very grateful. We're very appreciative. And I'm Jeannie Corcoran, your Sarasota County, Florida Film Commissioner. And it's just a privilege to be able to interview the people who give us some of their time and their talent coming to this radio program. And today, I have one of my favorite people. She is an entrepreneur. She is a writer. She is an artist. She is an award-winning photographer. She is a philanthropist, a producer. The list goes on. And her name is IRENE Gottlieb. IRENE, welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, I'm finally glad to get you here. You're so busy, and you're everywhere all the time. You live here in Florida now, but you travel a lot. And you just recently got back from, did you go to New Zealand, Australia? Visiting grandkids?
We have family in New Zealand, and we do enjoy spending time with our family, and so we do try to get around the world to go see our children.
Right. But I know you squeeze that in among so much business. California, Colorado. But you have been recently up and down the coast, having a lot to do with a very iconic, famous movie called A League of Their Own.
Yes, we've actually been promoting the film that Penny Marshall had brought forward as the director, bringing history that actually was going to be forgotten to the forefront. And since the film was released several years ago, almost 30, the ladies, the original ball players from World War II, the professional athletes, have been on tour along with the cast members from A League of Their Own, together working to share the enthusiasm and to empower young girls and boys to let them know that they can do anything that they would like. And the platform is the training camps that we've been putting forward, and bringing this particular group to major ball fields around the country, throwing out first pitches, showing the film, bringing speakers to help inspire young people, and sharing fun anecdotes from the film and the making of the film, which everybody likes to hear. It's been a delight to work with. I was going to say 3 generations, but we're really touching 5 generations of women.
Wow.
That are working together, and it just brings tears to my eyes and warms my heart, because we have professional athletes, we have celebrities, we have moms and dads, and we have young girls from 5 to 18, and we're actually feeding them into a more substantial type of league play, where they can feed into eventually a professional team. We've been fielding Team USA that actually won gold in Mexico just this past year. And we're working with them, and they actually are now doing philanthropic in-service things outside of playing and training. And they are going to different countries to train young girls and boys, and also to let them know there's an option from playing softball, and that they can play baseball. Uganda is a country that we have just started to work with, and we're working with the association of softball, baseball, and the High Commissioner and the U.S. Embassy has been stepping in and supporting, and it's becoming a really significant, fundamental project that's getting everybody's attention, because sport is a universal language.
For sure. That's really, really true. That's a huge reach all the way into Uganda and around the world. And sports, you're absolutely right. That's a wonderful way to put it. Sports is almost a universal language.
Yeah, I believe there's 31 countries that are now part of this World Series, and we call it World Cup. The last World Cup was we call it the Space Coast here in Florida. And the World Cup will be played in Japan this year.
Are you going?
Team USA.
Hey, Team USA in Japan. I'd love to go to Japan just to visit Japan, but that's a great thing. And you are going to be doing some things locally with baseball as well, right? And the League of Their Own.
We have been working with the Major League Baseball fields that have their spring training here. Atlanta Braves has housed our first All-American Girls spring training.
That's fantastic.
We say spring, but it's spring here all the time.
Right.
But we had our first successful training. We had members from Team USA. We had members from professional ball fields, the clubs, the coaches, etc. We are also working with the Tropicana Field, Tampa Bay Rays, and they are actually hosting on February 1st the annual Ted Williams Museum fundraiser, and it's the induction dinner. They are honoring men, Pena, Mazeroski, but they are also doing a very special tribute to Penny Marshall, and we are bringing in some of the original ball players that will join us for autograph signing, and members of the original cast, along with Penny's daughter, Tracy Reiner, who played Betty Spaghetti, and will be traveling with her daughters to come and accept the special honor that will be put in the museum as permanent exhibit.
That's fantastic. And that is the Ted Williams Museum?
The Ted Williams Museum in St. Petersburg, Florida, on February 1st. It is open to the public, and tickets are still available. And you're welcome, David.
Yes, and people can go to tedwilliamsmuseum.com if they want to know more.
Correct.
Right. Now, let's talk a little bit more about you have so many aspects we could talk about. I'd love to talk about your book, Jandals.
Yes.
I think it's what inspired you? It's a historical novel.
It's a historical fiction. I never considered myself a creative writer. I spent just about 30 years. Actually, I'm a recovering corporate banker.
But we won't hold that against you.
But I am a retired executive from the financial service industry. So I was doing a lot of writing, critical writing, position papers, etc. I also, because of my busy career and travel, not that I missed too many dinners at home, because I did literally fly to D.C. for an hour, rent the car, go to the meeting, get back to the airport, and I literally was home for dinner most days. So that's how I raised my family, was not moving them around or being an absentee mom, which was really important to me. But because of what I did, I was able to have the good fortune to travel my children to different places as our fun annual vacation. We do a short week as people were starting getting older and going to college and having different schedules. It was getting more difficult, so we started this little annual tradition, and they would get to pick a museum anywhere in the world, and we would go.
Wow, that's a great idea.
Well, it's worked out. And I had taken my children to Amsterdam when my youngest son was turning 16, and that was kind of the idea of the trip. The answer your question, that I was completely inspired by being in the city with all the history that was surrounding us, and just the differences between the tourists and the historical nature and the young people and the museum, and there was just so many things to see and do, and of course the line to get into the Anne Frank house was extremely long and wraps around the block 3 times if anybody has ever been there. And of course I considered that maybe we should just skip it because we weren't there that long. But we went in, and as we were waiting in line, I was seeing this like Black Friday happening. Not that I've ever done that, but the idea of people meeting and greeting, and it was really an international phenomenon. you weren't just standing there, you were meeting your neighbors because you're having to pass the time, and it was a lot of time that needed to be passed. And it just helped me conjure up a thought of young people coming together, and what a great platform to have them meet in line, and what a wonderful place to meet is to enter a place that actually was going to share something with them that would change their life. They walk in as individuals, innocent, and they walk out pretty empowered and grown up and kind of
eye-opened.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So the concept came through my travel, and as a result, I've been writing youth-oriented historical fiction, and each book or story is wrapped around a museum in a war. And so this particular book, and now optioned to be a movie, that's called Jandals, is World War II in the Anne Frank House. We have another film called Tongues of Pensée, working title today, that's been in development for the last 5 years, and that's revolving around the Ponce Museum in Puerto Rico and the Revolutionary War.
Wow.
And how the Puerto Ricans and the islanders actually helped us become a country. And there's a third story that's called Slippers of Diaspora, which is about the 6-Day War in the Diaspora Museum in Tel Aviv.
Wow. Those are great, great premises. I mean, very original, very unique. And as we all know, having been around film and television and media, it's a visual world now. And sometimes a movie can really trigger a whole new interest in a piece of history that, especially a young person, may never have heard. You know, our schools are, funding for schools have been cut over the years, and lots of classes, including history and arts and so forth, have been cut back. And it's
that's really, thank you for bringing that up, because that is not my sole purpose, but it has to be purposeful. There needs to be a teaching element, a moment that, that might trigger an interest to either be in service, or that might provide exposure to something they may not necessarily have been able to find or see in their local community. And yes, just learning about things that that they should know that may be compromised in our school system. And the Holocaust happens to be one of those tenuous conversations where states are mandating education for Holocaust, genocide, and hate, anti, of course.
Of course.
But not every state is allowing that to happen. And there's an organization called the Anne Frank Center for Mutual Respect, emphasis on the Center for Mutual Respect, that is actually the centerpiece for the educational services provided to municipalities, government organizations, working with the UN, and several other different groups at the highest level to ensure that the collaboration is intact and communities are coming together, and a lot of grassroots, educationally oriented, basically only, is being provided, including materials and exhibits and exhibitions that we have traveling today. In fact, the Naples Holocaust Center has opened an exhibit of ours on January 2nd.
Is that the Florida Holocaust Museum?
That happens to be in